Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
Guys who've dated an extremely attractive girl, how is it different than dating an average girl? You need to have enough self-esteem and zero insecurities to handle the barrage of dudes that give her attention. Most men can't cut it. I have experienced this twice before and it was totally different each time. The first one had absolutely no idea how beautiful she actually was at the time and was embarrassed by the attention that she got when we were out and about. The second girl was an absolute nightmare and craved the adulation from people, a completely different attitude to the first girl. It just wasn't. She was the only girl I've ever loved, and the most beautiful. Turns out love does not conquer all and beauty is often a curse to women. She suffered a lot for her beauty. Stalkers, no consensual touchies, jealous exes, you name it. I found the more attractive they are the more insecure they are. What did a teacher do that made you automatically gain respect for them? I had a professor that made it crystal clear that if we ever made an appointment and didn't show up, he'd take 5 points off of our final grade. I tried to find him during office hours and he wasn't available. I told him that I deserved an extra 5 points because he wasn't available when he said he would be and he gave it to me in the interest of fairness. People who stay true to their teachings are always great, provided that their teachings are moral. In my first year of high school, my class decided to play a simple prank on our English Shosha teacher, by all laughing when he faced the board, and then stopping every time he turned around to face us. After a few minutes of this, he just left the classroom without a word. We all sat there, confused, until a few minutes later the assistant principal comes in and explains that we've really upset our teacher. He made us believe we'd seriously fucked up. Then our teacher walked in and pretty much went gotcha. That son of a bitch had our respect from then on.
NSFW, what was your most embarrassing trip to the doctor? I was 5 years old, not too bright, and thought air freshener was ear freshener. So I plugged the end of a Febreze into my ear and let loose. I actually made it to the second ear before I realized I fucked up. Burning pain, damaged my eardrums from the pressure, bad everything for me. How could this day get any worse? Make it to the ear and my father is freaking out thinking I've gone deaf and he's demanding why nobody was helping us and staring at the TVs. It was September 11th, 2001, and I thought I was having a bad day. I had a cyst on my upper butt crack for the better part of a month. One lovely Saturday morning it's gotten so large and swollen that I couldn't even walk or sit down without crying in pain. I'm the first person to the urgent care that morning and find myself laying sideways on a table with a lovely doctor using a scalpel to force an eruption of the volcano that had formed between my cheeks. It was instant relief and used probably 20 pieces of gauze to clean up. I'd say that one. Even worse than getting my Huevos ultrasound. I had a CAT scan for a kidney stone, since that's all they were looking for in the notes it said pecker, unremarkable. I know it's not much but damn.
What's a little known but obvious fact that will immediately make all of us feel stupid? Percentages are reversible. 8% of 25 is the same as 25% of 8 and one of them is much easier to do in your head. You don't actually bite down. You bite up because of your lower jaw. Pufferfish are filled with water, not air. It wouldn't even make sense, yet a lot of people are like, what? World Wide Web contains fewer syllables than its intended short form, www, thus making the shorter version longer to say. It was never mentioned that Humpty Dumpty was an egg. Tomatoes are fruit, therefore any argument that fruit cannot be on pizza are irrelevant. What is something that used to be normal but is now sexualized? The British Broadcasting Corporation. The word daddy. You can throw mommy in there as well. You can throw step bro in there too. Don't forget step sis. You can't throw her in, she's already stuck in the washing machine. How is My Little Pony not on this list yet? Eggplants. And peaches. And bananas. Getting a spanking? Or so I heard. Schoolgirl uniforms. Yep, especially within Japan. Oh, believe me, there's a niche for British school uniforms as well. Hearing the words come or finish in a sentence. The following words: wet, hard, balls, daddy, mommy, long, deep. There's more but I don't want there to be more.
What was the moment you knew your relationship was over? When I realized I dreaded Fridays, our standard date night, and saw it as something I needed to get past before I could start enjoying the weekend. My ex and I were not living together, but he had the key to my place. I told him that I was going to go see my parents for the weekend, but then changed my mind last minute because I started feeling sick. I forgot to tell him and just went home after work and went to bed. I woke up around 10 p.m. to get a glass of water, and while I was in the kitchen I heard someone fumbling at the door with the lock. I freaked out because I lived on the 17th floor, so if it was a break-in, I was fucked. All of a sudden he walks in, dragging a tipsy girl in behind him. I just stood there while he tried to make up some sort of excuse as to why he was there. The girl was pretty shocked too. When after 7 years, a particularly cold conversation, and with tears in my eyes I said, "I just want you to love me," and she said, "Well, I don't, and don't you feel pathetic for having to ask?" When even just asking to hang out felt like a chore. It just wasn't worth it anymore. When she came up on caller ID and my first thought was uck. What is the smartest joke you've ever heard? 3 logicians walk into a bar, the bartender says you all want a beer? First guy says I don't know, second guy says I don't know, third guy says yes. You jerk, you tricked me into learning some logic math by way of wanting to understand the joke. I don't understand this one. The bartender asks if they all want a beer. If person 1 didn't want a beer, he would answer no. He doesn't know what the other 2 would say, so he says he doesn't know if they all want a beer. Same for person 2. Person 3 knows that each of the previous 2 wants a beer because neither answers no, so he says yes, they all want beers.
People of Reddit, what is one thing your family will never understand about you? Probably a bit more depressing than the answers you were expecting. I have 3 siblings who are all at least 10 years older than me. They don't understand that the mother I grew up with isn't the mother they grew up with. They remember a mother who was always at home when they finished school. Who was there for every sports day, every school play? Who was there when they had children of their own and needed advice? I remember a mother who left me repeatedly. Who left for the final time when I was 11 and could only spare 3 hours a week to visit, despite not working and living 15 minutes away. Who didn't give a shit about anything I did at school, how much I struggled being abandoned, or how difficult she made life for me and dad by contributing absolutely nothing financially. She died years ago, and we can't ever mourn or reminisce together because I can't bear to hear them talk about this amazing woman they all miss when all I wanted to do is tell them how fucking selfish she was, and I wouldn't have spoken to her for the past 20 years even if she was still with us.
Former fat people of Reddit, what's an actual trick that helped you lose weight? When you get a craving for something, instead of telling yourself no, tell yourself later. It's a little psychological trick that seems to work for some reason. The human brain doesn't like never, but it can handle not now just fine. Weird, I know. Drinking as much water as you're supposed to. Sometimes the body makes you think you're hungry when you're actually thirsty. Eat less, move more. It's not about tricks, it's a permanent change of lifestyle that does it. Get a job that involves constant movement. Started mine in August of last year. My wife poops in the shower. My wife poops in the shower and stomps it down the drain. Not a joke. She recently told me this and I've been living with it for weeks now. She even broke the news to me while laughing about it. You know what a waffle stomp is? She asked me as she laughed and laughed so hard she started crying. I feel disgusted and betrayed. I can't even look at her over breakfast anymore before I head off to work, and while at work all I can do is wonder to myself, is she doing it right now? Apparently this has been going on for years. Says she uses all the scented candles she obsessively buys online to mask the smell. I work 12-15-hour days, so plenty of time to cover her shit stink. A few times we've had to snake the drain due to a clog. Now I know why. I'm not sure I can live this life anymore.
What is important for virgins to know about their first time? The hole is actually a bit further south than you would think, but not too south. It gets better. It's the biggest deal in the world before it happens, and not that big of a deal after it happens. Don't take tips from porn. Sex is fun, but also totally ridiculous. Be safe. Use birth control. Talk about it and laugh about it. If you can't tell them that it's your first time, it's probably not the right person. Nobody expects your first time to be good. If anything, it's your first. They don't expect much at all. So just go for it and enjoy it. If it sucks or doesn't last long, then just blow it off and just say, well, I guess we need to practice together more. It only takes one nut to be a father. The more you know. The female will eat the male if she's unsatisfied. The reason you might not have heard about this is because all males who fail to satisfy the female are dead. No pressure.
What's the worst possible thing to say at a funeral? Probably what I said when I was 7 at my grandpa's funeral. I thought I was saying my grandpa had died, but my grandma and other 2 grandparents were still alive. 1 down, 3 to go. You're not losing a daughter, you're gaining a guest room. At my daughter's funeral, I was told this several times. At least you're young enough to have another. This super flirty, confused old man was hitting on my mom and asked, so, where's your husband at her husband's, my dad's, funeral? You're next. He died doing what he loved. Said by the priest during services about someone who died of a drug overdose. Jaw hit floor hard. Did he drop any good loot? Someone was telling your mom jokes at my friend's mom's funeral. Relative, how are you doing? Me, I'm alive.
What's a thing that all men do but never admit doing? Feel crushing loneliness. Pee in a completely unexpected direction. Remember compliments years after they're given. Wanting a hug real bad. Tactical wink. I remember when I was like 6 I did that thing where I pushed my sword in. Using telepathy to link a small portion of our minds together so we can reduce the pain of getting our balls hit by dividing small portions of the pain to any man within a few meters. Shaving her pubes at 14 even though no one is gonna see it ever. Realizing that someone was flirting with you like 5 years late.
What are some very obvious signs someone is into you? Honestly, I got rejected by a girl who seemed to send very obvious signs, so I don't know anything anymore. I got rejected by someone after we both told each other we had feelings for each other. Biggest letdown I've experienced ever. A girl flirted with me in French, stole my bag under the table as a joke, Wanted to arm wrestle and sat in the pub with me for 7 hours. She could have been Canadian, so I never knew if she liked me or not. Second date is today. I tell my wife about a weird interaction I had with a waitress, lady at the store, etc. Then she tells me that woman was hitting on me. Apparently I'm oblivious. One day I was at a store with my wife and a female employee was helping us find something. I cracked a joke and she started laughing, and then my wife started laughing harder. I was like, I'm fucking hilarious. Then I made a reference to the joke later thinking my wife would laugh. She told me the joke wasn't funny, but the other girl was flirting, so she had to outflirt her to shut her down. I had no idea there was a whole ass war for my affection going on in front of my face. What's the nastiest thing you've ever done? I wasn't feeling well, so I took a nap. I woke up feeling even worse, so I tried going downstairs to tell my wife. I was in my boxers and t-shirt. At the top of the stairs I puked so hard I fainted, then had explosive diarrhea. I woke up halfway down the carpeted stairs, slowly sliding down it on a waterslide of my own poop and vomit. When I was a kid, I went out with my friend and his father's family. We ate Chinese, and after my stomach was hurting, I was the first one outside, so I tried to fart and sharted instead. I was about to run to the back of the building to wipe and throw boxers away. It was nighttime, but they came outside already. I didn't know what to do, so I got back in the truck. It just happened to be the kind where you open the front to get back door open. I rode all the way home, 30 minutes, with shitty pants. They didn't say anything but drove with all windows down. To make it worse, when I got home I had to climb over someone to get out because I was in the middle seat, so my ass went right by the daughter's face. Reddit, what are some of your unpopular opinions? Even if schools taught you how to do taxes or other life skills, not many of you would pay attention. We don't need free college. We need to acknowledge the fact that the majority of jobs asking for a degree right now don't actually require one to do the job effectively. Most guys who are in the friend zone aren't even in the friend zone, they're in the "oh god, not this fucker again" zone. Society is becoming unreasonably tolerant, and we need to start acknowledging that some things are just stupid. Sex is far more important in a relationship than people will admit. Sleeping in your car should be completely legal and never looked down upon. Middle-aged guys don't buy sports cars because they're having a midlife crisis, it's because they can finally afford the car they want. If stealthing, non-consensual removal of a condom, is rape, so should lying about being on birth control. You don't need to love your career. You just need to be able to tolerate it so you can finance doing what you